Hey, it's Mosquito, also known as Chris. Welcome to the shop. I had a question from somebody asking about how long it took to turn one of these walnut platters, and I wasn't 100% sure, so that's what this is. You'll notice in the upper left, that is a timer that is sped up to the same speed as the video, so this everything is about 10 times faster than it would be, so that timer is going to be how long it took me. And this could have been a little bit quicker. There's a bunch of things here that like I run around, like I put my apron on there and I changing tools around because I'm trying a bunch of different things. I'm trying to use that Ellsworth grind gouge here, but I'm not used to it, so I just kind of use it a bit, and then I kind of get frustrated and switch back and forth for various things. It's a lot better for this scraping type cut than my 40/40 grind seems to be, but here I'm trying to do the bevel on the underside of that platter. Again, this is about a 12-inch platter, a 12-inch blank, 11 and a half, something like that. But I'm not used to it. So when I reset here, I go back to my 40/40 grind because for whatever reason, probably because I use it a lot more, I'm just a lot more accurate with that. And here I was debating if I wanted to do that same ovalo profile, but I was trying to explain because originally I was going to make this a longer form video, but I couldn't quite get the right microphone. But I eventually just went with a single hollow there instead, so it's kind of just a single cove instead of the ovalo, and then I just come back in with that scraper. This is no different than the other video, so if you're interested in how to do this in a more step-by-step fashion, that'll be linked up in the description as well as probably I'll put a card here unless I forget. So here I'm trying a hunter tool, one of their, I don't remember what they call it, one of their carbide tools, just to see how that worked out for hollowing it out, and now I'm just making that recess with the dovetail, so it's it's a fun thing to turn. I actually really like turning these platters, and I think they're pretty enjoyable. And after this one, I decided to turn a much larger platter. I had a bunch of small, well, small being relative, I guess they were short. They were about 6 foot slabs of maple that I got from a friend, and I decided to turn one of those in. It ended up being a 16 and a half inch platter, so that was big. That obviously didn't fit on this lathe, but I don't know. I've got a blank for about a 19-inch platter ready to go. I kind of want to flatten it a little bit because it wasn't quite dry, so it's flattening out, and by that I mean unflattening. So might turn that one. That might be fun. Make another fun video, but that one took a lot longer than this one. The other one that took about 6 hours, I think, to turn the 16-inch platter, but I think part of that was just because it wasn't quite as flat as these walnut blanks were. So lots of sanding. I thought about cutting this out, but I just decided, you know what, we'll just let it run, and you can see all the messing around that I do with, changing tools and sharpening time, and oh, I forgot this, I'm gonna go run over to the other side of the shop and find it or whatever. So there's a bunch of that in here. So, this could have been faster if I was better prepared at the beginning, but I wasn't. So this is reality. Also, I should mention that all of these angles are all just recorded at the same time. You can kind of see in the background here, there's a camera sitting there on the wall, so that's the other view. But that's basically what I do is I'm just kind of changing between video angles, but the time itself is all real time. So here we are finishing the bottom, and I'm kind of running around getting a rag, and what I tried this time was the white Scotch Brite pad, so I'm using that to apply the finish, just to see if it did anything different. I don't really think it did versus just using a cotton rag, I guess, but I don't know. Maybe I'll try a gray Scotch Brite pad next time or something, but it's just that tried and true original wood finish, so it's basically just a linseed oil and beeswax blend. So it's the kind of thing that you just apply and then I buff it off and you kind of get a nice sheen, I guess. It's not very shiny, it's just kind of there. So there I was just doing a push cut all the way across the face. And I think that's just because I'm used to it, but I'm going to try and experiment with that a little bit and see if I can come up with a faster way to do that, just because this method of like hollowing is a lot faster than trying to do that cut straight across the front, but it this doesn't really flatten it out. So I don't know. It's one of those things that I'm just going to kind of keep experimenting with as I continue to turn platters, because I'm pretty sure I will. I've at least got two more walnut blanks. Also, on one of these platters, I think I'm probably going to try to turn the bead inside. So there's kind of two different approaches for the most part for these. And these are Glenn Lucas Irish platters, is if you're looking for somebody else. And I just recently bought a platter, I guess it was a serving tray turning video from Glenn Lucas, and it's pretty good. He's a pretty good teacher. And if you well, I won't say appreciate, but if you at least don't groan at my type of humor, then I think you would get his pretty well too. I think he's pretty entertaining. But anyway, so there's one other way that he will kind of demonstrate or show turning these platters, which is instead of having the bead around the very outside of the rim, sometimes he'll turn the bead at the middle, so right around the part that is kind of the dished out area instead of that very edge. So I want to try that on one of them just to kind of see. I really do like the way this looks. I'm just not sure if I'd like the bead in the middle, but and I'm kind of, using my skew as a scraper because, well, that's all I had for a scraper other than the round. So getting into that little edge corner of the bead there is part of the struggle, I guess. But once again, we're back to sanding. I haven't tried actually finishing like the whole thing all at once. So like finish turning the back, like getting the recess and the rim and everything, and finishing that side, and then coming to this side, doing the bead, the rim, and then cutting out the bowl, and then finishing it that way. This is just the way that I was taught, because the idea is that the rim is the strongest it's going to be now. Once you start removing wood from the dished area, it's not going to be quite as strong because naturally there's less wood. So the idea is kind of just finish this part while it's a little bit more structural in the middle, and then you don't have to worry about it later. Also, if your wood isn't quite at equilibrium, then as you're turning it, it'll just start to dry out and things might start to move. So the sooner you get that done, the faster you'll be done with it, I guess, and you won't have to worry about it being bouncy as you're trying to sand it or anything like that. But yeah. So here I'm back with that Ellsworth grind, and I'm just trying to hollow out that middle. Just again, experimenting with the tools and trying to see if there's anything that I find that I like better, because you never know. It's just because I've been happy with the 40/40 grind doesn't mean I wouldn't be happier with this, but ultimately, I don't know. I got it to work, but here I'm just kind of relieving the bevel a little bit. I wasn't sharpening, I was just kind of knocking off that bottom corner to see if I could round this corner a little bit easier. And I do think that's one advantage of this grind, is when you knock off the corner, it's a little bit easier to round tighter radiuses with than the 40/40 grind. But I don't know. I think I just like the position of where the rest of the tool is, so like where my arm is and that kind of stuff when I'm using the 40/40 grind versus that Ellsworth. But I don't know. If you've got a favorite grind, let me know. Maybe I'll either buy another gouge or regrind one of these just to try. Never hurts to try new techniques and new ideas. So let me know. And then I come in with the skew here to just use as a scraper to flatten the bottom. I really need to get a square nose scraper or something just to not use my skew, but then it's just the rounded scraper to do the radius. It's just a lot easier for a flatter scraper for me than trying to get a flat surface elsewise. Apologies for all the sanding and finishing instead of just giving you the glory shots at the end, but I mean, like I said, I was turning this one in basically real time, just sped up 10 times, so it's a very accurate look at exactly how long it actually takes me to run through one of these, at least for now. we'll see. Maybe I'll come back in a year if I've turned more and do another one of these and see if I got any faster. But obviously it's not about speed, it's about getting done what you want done and a fashion that you're happy with. It's certainly not something that I'd be making a living at this point because I'm not that fast at it, but that said, I am going to list a couple of these over on shop.mosquitomade.com. I'll throw a link in the description for those. If you're interested in buying one, check that out. It's very, very much appreciated if you do, but obviously no pressure to. This is YouTube, not a vendor market, so I understand that part. But anything that does get bought just kind of goes right back into the shop fund and helps me keep doing some of these fun things that I enjoy doing, so it's very much appreciated. So there you see, it was an hour and 46 minutes and 31 seconds to that point. And that includes me running around looking for stuff that I should have had at the lathe in the first place and sharpening and all that kind of stuff. So not too bad. I would think an hour and a half is probably pretty reasonable. So there's the finished platter. Let me know if you liked this format. Just sort of set it up, full time frame, time lapse. I don't know. There's a lot easier to make. But anyway, I appreciate those of you that stuck around and watched this far. Hopefully it was interesting. I will catch you in the next one.